Hi everyone, welcome to Free Devs and a Maybe podcast. This is our fifth in the series, a podcast that is aimed at absolute beginners or just general enthusiasts. If you haven't listened to us before, I fully recommend checking out our first four podcasts. It'll give you some intro into PHP and some other basic things. But today we are going to be discussing text editors, source editors and IDEs. But before we kick off into that, I'm joined, as normal, by my three exceptionally gifted web developers, Ed Mann, Lewis Keynes, and Fraser Hart, all professional web developers by day and by night.
And very, very cool dudes as well.
You're going to say something else, which will involve companies, but
yeah.
Evening all.
Yeah, evening.
How is everyone?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Not too bad. Loving the rain, the continual 48-hour rain.
Don't you just love winter? Winter is the best time of the year.
Yeah.
Dark when you go to work, get to work. Dark when you get out of work.
Yeah. So following that.
Yeah, sorry.
Listening to our exciting fifth episode and talk about weather.
Yeah, well. So, how's everyone's week been? Let's start off for you, Ed Mann. How's your week been?
Very good, thank you, sir. Yeah, I was able to do a couple of blog posts this week along the top of the freelance stuff I'm doing, which was quite cool. Was able to do a bit on Scala 4 comprehensions and reverse Polish notation, which was fun.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, reverse Polish notation.
Right.
It's quite cool. It's like a way. It's instead of using like maths, 2 plus 3. Instead, you represent it 2, 3, and then plus, and it works better. Again, probably not. But anyway, it's fun. It's on my on my blog, so on my site at edman.com, and yeah, that was quite fun.
What led you to do that? That's
because there's a way. It's easier for the computer to calculate it, to work it out, because they can do it in a stack form.
Right.
Use a stack to do it, but yeah. I also did a blog post on simple functions, because when I was rebuilding the 3dev site with using Markdown and stuff, I came across like the idea of just using these simple functions. Very, very new idea, just to use simple functions. PHP never just does that, but yeah, use these simple functions like a cache function, I think it was so you had a cache function. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, so you had these different functions that you could use. And you could build a lot of different things just using these minimal set of functions without any, object orientated or any of that funky stuff. So that was quite cool.
Yeah. Interesting. Sounds good. How about you, Fraser? What have you been up to?
Not a huge amount. Well, quite a bit. I've got a couple of freelance projects I managed to get out the door, which had been kind of they were 99% completed, but there was a lot of back and forth with the clients, so they've finally gone. So it's nice to have those off my chest, and invoices have gone out, so yeah, sitting back and waiting for the payment to come.
Give me my money.
Yeah,
exactly.
just before Christmas.
Job until it's kind of like we're not going to sit for about 3 months in the standard form of web development. But in the office it's been fairly standard. I've just been working on the same project that I have been for pretty much the last 4 months. So yeah, nothing huge new to report there. It's kind of winding down for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then had a bit of a result of the weekend. Got to shake the hand of Chris Hadfield in London. Went to the book signing for his new book, and got to shake the man's hand. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you talk to him much, or was it just a handshake? Or
not really. Like I kind of went in with intentions of like having a bit of a conversation, but kind of like stood there and was like, "Oh yeah, that's the book." And then kind of shook his hand and stood there while he wrote in it, and then. I think he said something like, I hope you get something useful out of the book. I was like, thanks a lot, really appreciate it. And then walked off. And
nice. And the freelance sites, are they biggies or standard stuff?
Yeah, one of them was it was basically a CMS build, but I built it on the Silver Stripe MVC framework. It's a framework that it was basically my first MVC framework that I ever got my hands dirty with. I went to New Zealand about 2 years ago now, and I got myself a job working for a web development firm down in Queenstown, and they were working exclusively in Silver Stripe, so that was my first ever foray into MVC and frameworks and what have you. I just really like the framework, and so I decided to build this project on Silver Stripe, just because it comes with very nice, simple CMS in there. So that's gone out, and then the second project was actually for the same client. For some reason, they had a separate a separate store from their main website. So they wanted to keep the existing store, which was a Candy Press ASP shopping cart system.
Yeah.
Pretty horrible, but it was integrating with their existing or their in-store databases. So basically, they just wanted that to look the same as the new site that we were building for them. So I just had to skin that one up, and so that was a lot quicker. But it was kind of a bit of a pain having to set up a local dev environment on a Windows box and what have you. But it's all out the door now, and good times.
Nice one, man. 2 years ago though, that has flown by, man. That's incredible.
No, it really has, yeah. Because I got back in the country on the 6th of December last year. So just over a year ago I got back.
Yeah. Because I was pretty much brought in to take over the work that you were doing when you left to...
Yeah, all that horrible stuff that I'd been dumped on your lap. And, yeah.
Nothing but quality code. That's what I remember.
Oh, something else as well. We've got the MU client.
Yeah.
They're coming in for meetings tomorrow because they want more dev done on that site. And for the people listening, this MU project, I don't want to go into too much detail about who they are or what it is. It's nothing kind of top secret, but obviously the project's not live, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But this is a project that Michael was working on while I was away in New Zealand, and then I came back into the company where I previously worked with Michael, shortly after I got back, he was offered another position, so moved elsewhere. So this is a project that I took over, and a couple of the guys that run the project are fairly scary fellows.
To say the least.
Let's hope they're not listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Well, touch wood, I've still not met them yet, but from what you were telling me, you're saying it's like bullet wounds.
No comment.
Oh, dear.
That might be edit worthy, that bit.
How about you, Lee? How's your week been?
My week's not been too bad, actually. It's certainly been a bit busier than the last few. I just literally this evening finished a little freelance thing that came up yesterday, so had a quick turnaround of a little website for a swimming school in Lewis.
Oh, nice.
For a friend of mine's wife, so I've just finished that. I've been doing a lot of work on my framework, which we discussed in like the first couple of weeks, I think. That's been brilliant, actually. That's growing. I've got like a 35-point bullet list of things I want to do and build and fix and sort out and stuff like that. So in the quiet times of work, I'm certainly never bored. Although I have got a site coming up, which I believe I'm starting tomorrow for quite a big electrical company. So the first part of my new year is looking quite busy. But the majority of... Sorry?
Or is it within your company?
For the electrical one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for my company.
Right.
My boss has been to and fro for the last couple of weeks in business meetings and stuff, putting the whole strategy for it together. So the designs are all pretty much there, so it's pretty much good to go. I believe I'm starting that one tomorrow. So
what's the build-in? What framework you're using, or are you using a framework at all?
I haven't decided yet. It depends what's required, really.
Laravel 4.1.
Yeah,
who says that? What?
Symphony.
Well, although Yi is very good, other frameworks are available.
That's a very, very diplomatic answer.
It's not my one of choice.
MP materialism.
Yeah, it probably will be Laravel 4. I'm trying to not use CodeIgniter anymore as much as possible. Certainly not until someone kind of takes it over and it looks like it has a future. So it may well be Laravel 4 if it's required. I don't know what the size of what I need to build is yet. So once I've got that information, I'll be able to make a decision. But but the other sort of big part of my week, I've been doing a lot of research for one of our future podcasts, because we had a bit of a discussion the other day, didn't we, about sort of topics and who's going to lead what over the next few shows. So mine's going to be the HTML and CSS. So I've been researching that, and I've learned quite a lot of cool stuff.
Looking forward to it. Really looking forward to that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it. There's so much stuff in there which you'd probably never use if you didn't need to, but it could save you a lot of time, and a lot of very sort of general tools that make stuff a hell of a lot simpler.
Well, you were sending me some stuff over Skype and like little demos and stuff, and I was just shocked. Yeah, the amount of what HTML5 can do, it is quite crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's more of a discussion for when the show comes around itself. My biggest thing with that is obviously is it always a good idea to use something that's not fully browser supported? And a lot of the HTML5 stuff, does degrade quite nicely now, so it's not such an issue. But I kind of like to stick to the stuff that's going to work in the majority of places. But I don't know. I mean, that's a whole discussion in itself, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah. One thing I was going to say, Lou, and I don't know if I'm allowed to publicise this yet or not, because last time I knew, like, you were still putting your site together, and then I saw your tweet today on something you put on your site, and I had a quick look, and you had 50.
What's your site there now?
No. This isn't an actual. This isn't my actual site. This is basically pretty much every single day since I started working as a developer. Anytime I come across any kind of snippet or code that I found useful, I just store it somewhere.
Right.
And for a long time, it was just literally I'd set up a folder in my email address, in my email account. But I thought if I could put it online, that might be useful, and make it public. There might be bits and bobs in there that someone might find useful.
I thought it was really useful, mate. I was amazed, like, how much stuff was on there. It was really handy, actually.
There's all sorts of topics in there, and I stick stuff on there most days. I put one on there today. I'm trying to tweet them all now as well.
That would be awesome, actually, if you did tweet them, because I found that really useful today as well.
Yeah. So perhaps we can put that site in the show notes. Is that all right?
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's Lou's Snippets. LEWS. Don't know how to spell my name this evening. LEWSSNIPPETS.co.uk. Lou's Snippets. And then it's my sort of collection of snippets since I started doing the job. Do you guys do that? Do you keep kind of store things that you've picked up and stuff?
I try to now, more so than I did. I always lose stuff. That's why I've got my blog more often now, because I do always lose it. And I'm always like, I remember I did something like that, and I'm trying to look back at it and I never can find it. So it is a useful thing to have. It was
also my first sort of mess around with Laravel 4 as well. So I appreciate the design is pretty shocking. I'm not a designer.
I think the design looks fine, man.
Do you? It's very basic.
Nice and simple. Yeah, well, that's what you want. I mean, you just want to get the content in something like that, don't you? You don't. I mean, look at Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
It's a very clean, simple design, and that's what you want. You're there for a reason. You're not there to this looks pretty.
Look at PHP.net.
Top of Stack Overflow now, and it looks horrible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stack Overflow's just put a black bar at the top, and it looks.
Are they really? I didn't see that.
It's only tiny, but.
Do you guys find you have that discussion with people a lot, particularly with like freelance stuff, that you just automatically say, I'm not a designer, please don't kind of...
Well, you have to, because they assume it's part and parcel.
Well, they think that's all that you do, because you make websites.
Every time you ask them...
design them as well.
Yeah, it's just like, you're a web designer, then no, I'm a web developer. What is the difference? I'm a web programmer then. There is a difference, a very significant difference. Absolutely. It doesn't give like the design...
God bless you, it took me about half an hour to explain this to my mum a couple of weeks ago. She's a very, very bright woman, but I must have not been explaining it properly.
How was your week, Mickey?
Yeah, not too bad. It's just, I say it's every week, but yeah, it's pretty full on, doing the degree and stuff. And but yeah, some good topics and stuff that that I'm not really an expert at, but I really want to start specialising in this area. And I'm hoping I can do a podcast on this particular area of error handling and testing at some point. But yeah, just at uni, so I've been looking at error handling, obviously try catch statements, all that kind of stuff, and just really interesting. The code, but also like the theory behind it, and some of like the concepts, like should we always be displaying an error to a user? I mean, if we display an error to the user and the user can't actually do anything about it, what's the point? It's like the example they give is like going to an ATM. To get some cash out and there's an error. Well, it's no good to the user. You know what I mean? They either get cash or they don't. But if you give them an error message that said, I don't know, like some sort of error code, like A1234, it's no good to the user. So you have to be really careful about what you're doing. And also, again, using the cash machine example, is you have to be careful with privacy. So you don't want to print out an error message that might have someone's account details in there or something like that, because they might walk off and the next person comes and they've got all your account details. So it's a massive topic, I think.
Yeah,
and
that's definitely noteworthy of a couple of podcasts, isn't it, really?
There's another one there where people who try and hack sites, try and force error messages, don't they, to try and get access to that kind of...
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. You think like all those like SQL error messages you get and stuff that reveal table names and field names, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a huge topic, and it's definitely one that I need to improve on. And I think I told you last week that I've been playing with PHP Unit, and I really like that
You said you had a look at Symfony this week, didn't you? Like the source code, and was quite surprised how Java-ish it is.
Yeah, but I couldn't really talk about it with enough sort of knowledge at the moment. But Symfony is something I want to play with later. But Selenium is something I want to play with next. I really want to get the whole testing thing locked up and, really be able to talk about it, with confidence, really. So I feel, pretty confident with unit testing now. And I think it's, even for a beginner PHP developer, I don't think it's anything that's beyond their scope.
I think it's good probably to learn while doing unit testing, so it just comes, part and parcel with development. In my mind now, I think it's kind of like one of the first things that a PHP developer should be learning, whereas in reality, it's probably one of the last things that they learn. Well, in a business sense, it is, because it's very hard for people to be like, oh, but you're spending half your time writing tests that no one actually sees.
And that's the age-old argument, like trying to tell your boss that testing is a good thing for the business.
A massive, massive thing to do, yes, for the business. You just, it will save you more than it ever,
Yeah.
They're not doing that.
Absolutely. But other than that, in my spare time, I think I tweeted the other day about, had a little play with Dart.
You did a blog post, didn't you?
I did do a blog post, yeah. I kind of, to be honest with you, I just did the tutorial that Dart gives you. And it basically, you go through this thing where you create like a pirate badge, and it just generates like a random pirate name. It's really, really basic, but it's just to get you to grips with the language. And I would say very, very, very similar to Java. And for me, I was really impressed, actually.
It's what they're aiming for, isn't it? The Java people.
Well,
Java ecosystem to use JavaScript.
I'm a massive JavaScript fan, but at the same time, I think it is time for something new, actually. But why would you just stick with that language?
Well,
you don't get that in any...
Because it's literally it's the assembly of the web, isn't it? And I think it's never going to go away.
True.
But I think, as you say, with preprocessors and stuff...
Yeah, exactly. You need to... If there's going to be new languages, it has to be stuff that compiles down to JavaScript, which Dart does. And but I think in the next version of Chrome, you'll be able to run Dart natively.
That would be pretty big.
Yeah, and I know that the speed is supposed to be a lot better as well. So I was really impressed. I don't do enough front end development to say I'm going to use it all the time, but next time I do, do a front end project like that, I would definitely use it. And I think you can use Dart server side as well, like you can with Node.
That would be cool. That would be very cool. Build big old server side apps with it.
Yeah, but I'm not clued up enough to talk about that right now. But yeah, I would definitely recommend to anyone to have a play with Dart. I think the blog item I've done really is just like a few observations on it. Like I say, I can't really beat the tutorial that Dart does, but I'll put the Dart address in the show notes. Can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I'll put that in later. So yeah, that's kind of been my week really. And obviously just coming up to Christmas, it's just, I don't know if you guys had this, but trying to have a nice clean wrap up of projects before Christmas is really quite hard actually. But yeah, so I think it's going to be a stressful couple of days, to be honest, trying to tie stuff up. But then, a week off.
Next week at all, or are you off all throughout the week?
Yeah, I've booked all 3 non-bank holidays off, so I'll be off all week.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm ready for a break from programming, to be honest with you. So yeah, looking forward to killing a few brain cells and just chilling out, I think. So.
Oh dear.
How about anyone play with any new plugins or anything noteworthy?
I've got a couple of things, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you know, Mike, seeing as you were with me. When we were talking on Skype on Monday, I did a shameless plug tweet, didn't I? Well, actually, you did first to Bill Gates, which obviously he didn't reply, which was a shock. But we're trying to get the word around on the podcast and stuff, and it's really hard to without sounding too vain, and just being, just self-promotion. But what I did was I actually tweeted thoughts screen. Might as well just try and tweet Taylor Rockwell and see what he would say. And for some reason, he didn't retweet it, but Dale Rees and Ian Landsman, 2 other Laravel guys, did.
Yeah.
And when they retweeted it, literally, I went on Google Analytics and 25 people on the site instantly, and it was great. I really appreciate it. So I want to thank them. Really definitely. Thank you for actually doing that, for retweeting it, because just getting the word about the podcast. And also, IRC Maxwell, he also had a little listen to the podcast, the first one, And he did bring up quite a good point about we mentioned W3 schools. I don't think we actually endorsed it that much. He thought, we endorsed it. I mean, we did explain.
Did he take exception to the fact that we'd kind of...
Well, the trouble with it is quite old material on it and stuff. But with the HTML and CSS, it's good. I mean, PHP, it does teach some bad practices. I did have a look with MySQL, my SQL connections and stuff. But what we want to take from that is, like, you can use it, but just everything you learn from it, maybe take with a pinch of salt. And it does come up high in the Google rankings, which definitely helps it. It isn't related to W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium, which is the actual official place for the World Web. But people do get confused with W3 schools. But I personally think it is an okay site to use just for reference and stuff. But again, take it with a pinch of salt. There are a couple of other things that you can look at. You can look at the Mozilla Development Network, the MDN. I'll put that in the show notes. What we talked about on the first episode, and also PHP the Right Way, which is from the guy who made Slim framework, and it's quite a nice little wrap up of what good practice is currently in PHP development. And then also w3fools.com, which is a funny site from Paul Irish, which just highlights why there are a couple of things wrong with W3 schools. But I also thought it would be good to emphasise, don't use it as your single point of reference. Take everything with a pinch of salt. But it's one place you can have a look for things, because nothing on the internet is 100% right. We all take it,
Yeah.
And another thing, actually, sorry, I keep ranting on, but there was a couple of things I did find called explainshell.com. I sent a tweet. I don't know if any of you actually had a look at it.
Haven't, sorry.
Oh, you need to have a look at it. Look at it now. It is awesome. Explain Shell, it's for command lines. It's explainshell.com. And it actually explains, which is in the day, the shell commands that you're doing. So you maybe have like a big old shell command that has a couple of options, a couple of pipes in there. Maybe you're doing it awk and then a sed in it, but it will actually split them up using the Ubuntu. It's really clever the way the guy's done it. Like, it splits it up into the little bits and explains each individual bit of the actual command.
Yeah,
it's very useful. And another one that actually ties in with that is commandlinefoo.com, which has some very cool it has a very cool it's literally like the snippets thing that Lewis was talking about, but for command line commands, and having interesting ones like that, like finding out your IP address quickly and stuff. And then finally, I found so funny today, or I think it was yesterday, but I sent you a tweet out, and I'm sure you didn't look at it because no one looks at my tweets.
I looked at this, but I wasn't really sure what was going on.
Oh, the flexible function naming.
Yeah,
it was. Oh, it's hilarious. It's one of those. The reason I want to talk about it is that discussion in the beginning of the first podcast, which was PHP was made for just a simple, it's a simple language at the start first that has grown and grown and grown. And they had a little discussion on the internals bulletin boards on the PHP one, and this guy was talking about why were the naming conventions and stuff, and why HTML special chars was called HTML special chars, and there's no, and the reason being is that the way that they store their names and the way PHP stores everything, even an array, is in something called a hash map. And the idea of a hash map is you have these set amount of buckets that you put information in, and the reason why that they had to name these things in certain ways was to be able to get it, because their hashing mechanism was string length, so the length of the string, and so they had to to distribute them between all the buckets they had to name the things a certain length to make it so it was more even, to make it so it's more performant in it. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about hash maps and stuff later on, but I just thought it was funny that the reason why some of these names come about is not because there was obviously probably more sensible name, but it's because of the performance in there. I need to have it because there's under 100 functions. I need to have these buckets being evenly distributed with items. I just thought that was funny. I thought I just thought it's just typical PHP, and I'm sure that's like in any languages, those little bits that that people pick up, and it's just like, oh, that was done just because of this reason.
Yeah, I think I told you the other day that the lecturer at Kent who teaches PHP, he calls it a dog's language.
Yeah, I was interested by it. So did he actually bring it up at all, his reasons behind it or anything? Or
I'm not doing that module, to be honest, but some of the guys who were doing it, they were telling me that, the guy who teaches it actually slates it. So
I don't really resent this kind of feedback to PHP, because it's the first thing that I ever learned, and in a fairly quick space of time, I got into a career with it. So I fail to see why it gets so heavily slated, but maybe that's because I haven't researched other languages so much.
No, I'm with you.
Popularity, the people use it, that means, this is the thing, it's like another language could be out there that's better, but are people still going to use it? JavaScript is a perfect example of that.
But if PHP is so rubbish, what are all the cool kids using then?
Oh, the hipsters are using Node and Ruby.
Yeah,
or if you want to use Go now, their languages come out every week, and it's. I mean, PHP for what it is great, and I just thought that was funny, highlighting that in the internals why they were doing it, and it's all to do with just bucket sizes of the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's me showing up for now.
Cool. Has anyone else got anything they want to say before we dive into this week's topic?
I had a fun play around today with my framework. I've been making like a terminal based module for migrations, like kind of like Laravel uses and stuff like that. And I was messing around. There's a snippet that I put on my snippets tonight today, messing around with the MySQL dump function, which was really, really cool and very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So that was good. And used the old Google Map plugin again today. GMap3 can't plug that one enough.
Did we actually post that in the show notes? Can you send me that link to that? That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll find it. It's just so easy. I do like that one. Yeah, but you can use the MySQL dump to get all your database information nice and easily without having to actually export it from the database itself or use SQL Pro or PHP-MyAdmin. It's not even that long a function to write. If you look on my Twitter page, you'll see the link that I put to it. It's quite straightforward.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this framework. Hearing some good things about it, Lou.
Yeah.
Well, mainly from me. It's I'm not saying I don't even know if it'll ever get used for a real proper project, but it's just kind of a learning exercise for me. And if it evolves into something ultimately that I can use, then all the better. But there are certainly tools I'm building along the way that I know I will definitely use.
Yeah.
So I do, as I said in the other podcast, so I really recommend everyone gives it a go, just to build up your own collection of libraries and stuff that you've made yourself of PHP bits and bobs, and sew them all together. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, like Ed said, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing yours, man. And I might take you up on that idea sometime. I'll try and give that a go myself. But yeah, Nice one. So this week we're going to be talking about how you put together your code and the different options that are available to you. And I think we discussed before the show that perhaps a cool way to kick this off would be to go around and ask what the first editor that people used was. So let's kick off with you then, Ed. You want to say what you used?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we're going to have very similar answers, but mine was Notepad, bog standard Windows Notepad. Back in year 8 of secondary school, playing around in simple HTML and a bit of CSS, just saving it, loading up the browser and just seeing the results. Just nice, plain, bog standard Notepad.
Yeah, I don't think the web even existed when I was at secondary school, so it's quite embarrassing.
I used Notepad for the first time at age 27.
Yeah.
I'm 30 now, I should add.
Fraser, how about you?
Yeah, same as Ed. I jumped in with Notepad in a module at university, and it was kind of like one of these things like you write your name and stuff, and save the Notepad and refresh your browser. And at the time, like the big, this is like back in '98.
Yeah.
And the big fashion was on websites. They were all done in frames, so you had your menu in a frame.
Yes, frames.
Yeah, and a frame for your header as well at the top, and your main bit, yeah. And then the big trick was always like getting that, because every single website out there had to or didn't have to, but like the fashion was to have like the curved thing that goes around the top, so your top menu kind of like curves into your side. So the big trick was trying to like match up the curve between like the 2 or 3 frames. I honestly must have spent a whole day trying to get one of those, and it looked really, really bad. So that was my first foray anyway, and I hated it. And Lewis, you were saying that you didn't touch it till you were 27.
Yeah, well, it was the first thing that I saw. Actually, no, it was the second thing that I saw, because I did a short Open University course in website design first of all.
Right.
Ed, you're like this. The program that we used there was called Composer with a K.
Really?
Yeah.
Composer with a K.
And it was basically I don't know, like a poor man, not a poor man's version. That sounds a bit hard, but Dreamweaver, but not as good as
a free Dreamweaver.
Yes, free Dreamweaver, but yeah, basically it was a
so it's like a WYSIWYG and stuff.
A complete WYSIWYG editor. And then basically when I started to watch all my YouTube tutorials and learn it for myself, I finally this is how little I knew about computers before I started. I finally learned what Notepad was actually for. It was just always something that was on a menu, but I never used it because I was using like Microsoft Word and all those kind of things before. But now with web stuff, I actually figured out there's this thing called Notepad that gets used for websites. So that was my first one.
So before you did the Open University course, were you big into computers at all, or was it a completely new field altogether for you?
I would class myself as just kind of your bog standard internet user. I just emails, Facebook, that sort of thing. Not massively computer techie. I'm still not, to be honest. There's a lot of really fundamental computer knowledge that people automatically assume that web developers have, which I probably don't. It's not a strong point of mine. Like
they're different areas, though, aren't they? They're different specialities.
Well,
hard and soft guys. That's what they deal with the hardware. We deal with the software.
Yeah, if you start talking about motherboards and all that stuff, I've no idea really.
Well, I bet that's refreshing for people that might be listening to this. That might be really refreshing to them, because I guess a lot of people may be coming to web development a similar thing, like the late 20s, early 30s or whatever, and maybe they've been in a career for the last 10 years, completely unrelated, and thinking, well, is this something I can get into? And I guess you're testament to the fact that you can get into it. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, you definitely can. I look at it. Building websites is a single component within a computer. In the same way that anything that you'd install on your computer and use, it's just a different kind of program. That's how I see it, really. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does absolutely. Yeah. How about you, Mickey? What was your first foray into web and TextEdit?
Well, I mean, I know we discussed it the other week, but, I was very much that whole GeoCities, Angel Fire kind of era. And so the first websites I built were in their kind of like, web builder things. And then I think the first website I ever made, it was like a local artist, and she just wanted like a website with some, samples of her pictures and stuff. And I know this doesn't really count, but and this is really embarrassing, but the first website I ever made, I just made in Microsoft Word.
In Word? Not Frontpage? Wow.
No, it was in Word, and it was like...
Webpage.
Yes. Same as Webpage. I'd like to do that now, to be honest with you, so I could get away with it. But but that is one of the first ways I first saw HTML, was because I saw the source code they produced.
Yeah.
And actually... I don't know, something clicked with me quite early on, like how you've got the symmetry, you've got an open tag, you've got a close tag, and it's that kind of like XML type structure.
The markup language of it, yeah.
Exactly, and that kind of made sense to me quite early on. So then from that, it kind of led me on to, I think it was Frontpage. I think it came free with like Windows at one point, and that's how I really started. And I think I used that for a little while. And then I think I went to Notepad++ for many years, actually, I think.
Didn't you have Komodo as well? Wasn't that?
Komodo was after Notepad, yeah.
Because I do remember you using that first when we first worked together.
Yeah.
That's quite well supported, though, isn't it? I've seen a lot of articles that say Komodo is very good.
It's quite nice, but it does...
Does it produce files in the directory?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
That's another thing, that was...
Project files, yeah. Yeah, so...
I think it does, actually. I don't know for sure. I think it does.
I think Komodo was quite similar to Composer. I was just looking at Composer, which looks quite nice, actually. I have to say, again, open source.
I think he's a good Composer.
Composer is very, very nice and straightforward to use, definitely.
Yeah.
And free, obviously, as well.
Yeah. So, that's basically what I started using, really. So, I guess now we should move on to the different types. As I know you, obviously, we split it up into text editors and IDEs and source editors. So... Ed, did you want to go into a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure, man. So we've been talking about all these things, like what's Notepad, etc., what's Word, what Microsoft Word, etc. So a text editor is simply is a program that just edits plain text files, and plain text files are useful for us because they're what actually store the source code, like the HTML, like the CSS, etc. It's great. They're great because of their compatibility. Because they're so simple. You can in any operating system in any environment. It was actually one of the reasons why Unix and Linux operating systems became so popular, was the fact that they didn't use proprietary binary formats. They used plain text formats, which could be used and opened on any operating system. The difference is, this is confused me. So when we were talking about Microsoft Word and exporting it as HTML. So really, what actual Microsoft Word is, it's called a document word processor, and that produces document files. And the difference between plain text files and document files are that with a plain text file, you're only going to get simple character sets like the ASCII, which allow you to represent stuff like numbers, letters, and symbols. And the only formatting options you're going to get with that are new lines, tabs, and spaces. And then we, of course, will get into the debate of tabs versus spaces, which in programming things like, a war. With word processors, you typically get more stuff along the lines of that. With that, it's like formatted text, so you can make things bold, you can make things underlined, you can have different fonts. You have the ability to present things in tables and columns, all stuff that you can actually do with a browser. So you have to get confused. So you can do that. You're not actually getting it displayed in the plain text editor. When it goes to the actual browser, that's when it gets rendered. In that case, this you actually see it actually being what it is at that time. Called a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So document files are typically used when you want to print it out or maybe export it as a PDF. Those are the two differences. Those two things: documents and text files. Document files like Word. So with Word, they used to use I remember everyone used a .doc, and .doc is actually just a binary file. So you need a proprietary software to actually be able to open that and write and see inside and everything. It's its own language almost inside of it, and how it's structured out, like JPEG, etc. .x, which is the new format, is actually just a zipped up XML file. So they got that bit right, where they're just saying, look, plain text is the way to go.
Yeah. I guess the nice thing about, just a plain text editor is that it's available to absolutely anyone. Like, on any computer, you'll have a basic text editor.
That's
so
it. Absolutely.
Literally anyone can build a website, with just that. Especially if it was just a HTML website, you could literally create it, save it, view it in your browser straight away.
I used Notepad++ for the first year and a half, probably.
That is actually that's a source code. Yeah, and that is actually a really good source code editor. Yeah.
If you could see all your files and easily go through all your files like you can, like with Sublime, which I use now, then I can't see any reason why I wouldn't still use it. That was the only thing that I think there might have been some sort of plugin that you could get for it, but that was the major thing that it was missing for me. Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with text editors, there's a couple of things that you can actually there's a couple of things you should look out for, and what you normally will get in every text editor. I'm sure we would. So you've got like search, string search algorithms, so stuff like find and replace, globally search and find and replace, conditionals and unconditional search, find and replace. The simple cut, copy, and paste, which we get on every operating system, but certain things like that. Maybe you have like a clipboard history, which you can then go back to and everything to see. Like, I actually want to copy that one instead. Text formatting, so stuff like line. So formatting in the sense of not actually styling, but like line wraps, auto indentation, and comment styling. So in source, this goes into what should we say? A source editor is a plain text editor, but really a plain editor you can have comment styling. You've got your undo and redo. The ability to handle UTF-8 encoded text is very important in any text editor or in anything we're going to be talking about today. And that is UTF-8 is great because it allows for pretty much every language character set, all the Japanese, all the Chinese, all French accents and stuff. It allows for all that. Finally, you also may get in a text editor text folding, which is stuff that allows you to hide bits of code or in bits of text. Maybe if you're writing a book with paragraphs and stuff using LaTeX, which is a language for actually printing it, like exporting books and stuff. So it allows you to then hide stuff in text, like hide text folding, hide it, so you can save stuff, save screen real estate for what you're typing in and stuff.
Yeah.
Syntax highlighting is also important.
It is important. The trouble with it, it's very hard. Like, is that to do with? I suppose I'd actually probably put that more to do with source editors, which we then can get moved on to actually, because source editors are what we actually are going to use.
Notepad++ does some very basic kind of syntax highlighting, doesn't it, in spots?
So the thing about a source editor, which is different, and it's very hard, it's one of those ambiguities, which can you define them? It's wishy-washy, everyone has their own opinion. So a source editor, you can define a source editor, it's something that actually helps towards producing code. Stuff like has syntax highlighting, has autocomplete functionality, maybe IntelliSense a little bit of IntelliSense, bracket matching functionality, auto indentation with, when you're doing stuff like a function and you want it to auto indate when you've done the method signature, you want to go actually into the block of the function block. Examples of that are Sublime Text, Edit Plus. You've got your Notepad plus. You may also find that they have stuff like linting. Linting is like simple syntax checking, and that can be not only on source code, it can also be on markup language like HTML, like LaTeX, and stuff like that. You may also get a small bit of functionality into actually being able to access the compiler. So say if you're writing Java, I remember back in uni, I used Edit Plus for the first year instead of using the big old IDE we did. And you could hook in the Java-C actual compiler into the GUI of Edit Plus and be able to simply run and compile your applications from there, which was quite nice.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I don't really have an opinion on it, but not just for Ed, but for Lewis and Fraser to see what your opinion is. But I guess something that's a common feature between source code editors and IDEs is auto-completion. And I've been teaching a guy Java recently and showed him auto-completion feature on BlueJ. But I kind of think in some ways it's great. It helps you write code quicker. But in some ways, I also like taking it back to documentation and just, okay, I guess you display the same thing almost, but I almost think it's better in some ways to go on Google or go on php.net, actually look at the documentation and list everything that's within that class or what have you, rather than just having the auto-completion.
It's for learning, I think it's good. I mean, it's quite nice sometimes when you just I don't know what this object will have, click dot, and then IntelliSense will come up. And that's more of an IDE thing, but IntelliSense will come up with all the Java docs and all the documentation for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. You can kind of become blasé with it and not actually know what the method is.
Do you have
and
that
just be typing dots and just expecting things to come up?
It's been a while since I've used Sublime because I have to use Dreamweaver at work, really. But does Sublime have auto-completion?
So it does and it doesn't. So it has snippets, but it has intelligent autocomplete in that it will look through what you're doing in that current document and be able to say, oh, did you mean this word? So if you've already used that word before, if you've already used that variable, it will know that, oh, maybe you want that to be, replace it with this and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is quite good because it's kind of catch-all of anyone may need to use this, so it's not specific to any language, etc.
Yeah, it'll give you the whole. You can't start typing a class name or a function name, and it'll give you the variables you need to pass into it.
Nice. Actually, I don't know. Actually, I think it may. I don't know.
There's a million plugins.
Yeah, there's plugins. I think probably one of my plugins is doing that instead. Yeah, that's the thing. Plugins is a big one, and that's what you don't get with text editors, but you do get with source code editors and IDEs.
One thing. Oh, sorry.
No, you go. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that one of the first things that you taught me actually when we were working together is never copy and paste anything. Try and type in as much as you can.
Absolutely, it will go through. It goes through. Yeah, you have to do the whole process of acknowledging it and then actually reproducing it. Copy and paste is literally just it doesn't go through at all. You can't register it. It just you don't mind.
Even if you're literally looking at another file and putting exactly the same thing, just type the whole thing.
It's that learning, yeah, absolutely. Because it's that thing of do I understand that line? Do I understand what that bit's doing? And it will help you. You'll learn so much quicker. Even though you think you're doing it's slower process, you learn so much more. I find with
it's weird what you retain as well. The next time you come to write something similar, you'll find that you remember bits and bobs that maybe you didn't realise at the time.
Absolutely. I mean, there's this whole, and another thing with when we get onto source editors, and what we've got is the whole Vim versus Emacs. Now, it is a bit scary, but it's pretty useful to actually talk about this editor war, in quotes, because you probably will hear a lot about it, especially if you go on Toots Plus and stuff. You'll hear Jeffrey Way, and you'll see Jeffrey Way using this funky-looking editor, and it's called Vim. VI improved it is. So VI is the original from the 70s, I think it is, and then Vim was in the 80s. This guy made it and improved on VI. It's not scary. It's scary in the sense of what you can do with it. It's very powerful, and to start using it can be a bit confusing. But really, it's just another source code editor. They've got this whole joke with Richard Stallman. He's the creator of the GNU compiler collection and also GNU Emacs. So he made Emacs. He calls VI the editor of the beast. So they've got this weird, war going on between them. But the funny thing with this war is, unlike any other battles relating to programming and stuff like operating systems, programming languages, coding style, this decision actually really only affects yourself, because every file that you're making is really just a plain text file. So really, it doesn't matter how you get to that. I mean, say okay, Lou, you're using Sublime, maybe Mickey's using Vim, and then maybe Fraser's using Emacs. I mean, as long as you all can produce the same thing, which is a plain text file, you're all happy. It really is what you like.
It's all completely personal preference, isn't it?
Personal, absolutely. But yeah, it's just not to be scared by the names, really. I mean, Vim improved is a modal approach, so that can be very confusing at first. You don't just type and thing and click around. It's a modal approach where you have like an insert mode and edit mode. One of the things it does, it is quicker than Emacs. It runs on a lot of systems that can support the standard C library. So you've got Windows, OS X, Linux. There's many extensions on it. If you go to GitHub, you'll find so many extensions, and they're all written in Vim script, or they have APIs to interact with interpreted languages like Python, Ruby, and Lua. I love Lua. It comes out of the box with most Unix and Unix-like systems. So if you've got a Mac OS X system, if you just go into the terminal and type Vim, you've got it. You've already got it installed and stuff. And once you do learn the shortcuts, if you spend the time, it will make you a much more efficient developer. I mean, I actually stress, go and look at just what Jeffrey Way does in his tutorials, not even to look at the actual tutorial, just him using the editor. You'll find it's so quick, and the things he can do is so efficient. It is great. I mean, it is actually probably worth the time to learn it. I mean, I've learned a little bit of it, and I've moved back to Sublime, but I really recommend if you really want to be an efficient developer using a text source editor, it is, a great tool to use.
So what does it actually do that other editors don't do? Because I've used Vim very, very, like maybe a handful of times in my life, and that's literally just when I'm I want to say telnet.
Get SSH in.
When I'm SSHing into another server to edit a file directly on the box. That's the only time I've ever used it, and it's obviously fiddly because I'm not familiar with it. But what is it that actually makes it stand out above a standard text editor, would you say?
It's strange. It's because it's been around for so long. People have kind of grown in love with it. It started off in the 70s with like keyboards that didn't even have arrow keys, so you use instead H, J, K, and L moving around. That's why it was modal approach, so people could do. And it's all about the idea is that you don't take your hands off the keyboard.
Right.
So everything you can do is just within the keyboard. It's quicker to go all the way to the mouse. It's such a drag, so hard to do. I haven't got the energy for that. Stay on the keyboard, and it is very quick to do things like replacing words, quick things like I want to go to the end of the file to this line, etc. And it is also the plugin support because it's been around for so long. There's so many plugins. There is actually because this is the trouble with. I think actually a very good question to ask is like, how hard is it for you to change editors? Because I find it very hard because I don't when I want to make a transition to a new editor, especially with something like Vim or Emacs. You become unproductive for a while, because you aren't doing the same thing. You're not, it's not there anymore. I have to go here and do it this way. And you're looking constantly on Google. I mean, do you actually change editors that much, or are you?
It's your whole personal sort of development environment, isn't it? So you do get really used to stuff and how things look, and even like if you change the font size in the editor that you use, and if you kind of zoom in a bit or zoom out, it can
feel right, does it? And it kind of throws you off together.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we're in the text editor or source editor or IDE pretty much most of the day. It's kind of scary how much time we're using it. So that's what you do become personal and familiar with it, and that's why you probably become so passionate about it.
Yeah, a big thing for me when swapping between different text editors is what you were saying about autocomplete before, and like you get kind of used to like you're sitting there in your CSS and you type in like I don't know like text decoration, and then you get all the
options that you want. Yeah,
how many strikes of the down key you have to press for underline?
Absolutely.
Another one, it might be two strokes down for underline, and then in the other editor, it might be 2 strokes down for none.
Completely different. Yeah, absolutely agree. And it's just that muscle memory that you build up for it. Syntax highlighting as well.
Syntax, and that's another like style of themes and stuff. That's another thing within. There's a lot of themes similar to Sublime that make it look pretty and make it look the way you want. I use one called Solarize, which is a very popular one. But this guy's actually done some math to work out what the best like light and dark colours are for displaying actual text on a page, which is quite cool. With Vim, there is one thing I did use to actually get involved in Vim, which was called Cream. Cream's like this. It's a pre-packaged bundle of Vim with a bunch of plugins and stuff, and it's kind of like this gateway drug into the Vim universe where you can still do the clicking around. It still gives you the stuff you would normally get with another source editor and stuff, maybe like Notepad++, etc. But you can that means you can then slowly transition into using like the keyboard shortcuts and stuff. So I recommend that. I'll put that in the show notes. Cream, if you're looking to get into something like Vim, Cream is definitely out. And also look at Jeffrey Way's articles or his videos. He's great for it. Then there's Emacs. And Emacs is an operating system in an operating system, pretty much. It's got everything in the kitchen sink. It actually comes with a newsreader, a mail agent, and a couple of games inbuilt actually in the editor. So you can actually it's been ported to operating systems like Windows and stuff, OS X and Linux. It uses a Lisp dialect. So Lisp is it's one very old language. It uses its own dialect called Emacs Lisp, and that allows it to customize it and extend it to provide all this extra functionality, such as browsers. You can even have a browser inside of this actual text in this source editor. It also then means you can actually use it as an IDE somewhat, so you can actually call it an IDE, an integrated development environment, really, because of how much customization you can do through Emacs Lisp. Hello.
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 Hello. You were talking in yes. Do not talk in the IM thing. Oh dear.
Sorry, my sound cut out then. One thing actually. Do any of you guys or have you paid for any of these editors that you've used? Or
Sublime.
Oh, have you got Sublime 3?
I haven't. Well, no, I've got Sublime. I paid for Sublime 2. I'll pay for Sublime 3. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I should probably do that because it's not a big issue. Well, obviously it's a big issue to them, but in terms of usability, it's not a big thing to close the dialogue every.
It's the non-registered and stuff. Isn't it?
Yeah, I do need to do that as well.
I've got to be honest. I kind of refuse to, and I know this is bad, but I kind of think one of the things I love about the web is like the free spirit. Like you can do everything free, pretty much. Okay, you got to pay for your hosting, whatever. But I'm not having a go at Sublime at all. Don't get me wrong, because I think it's an amazing piece of software, and they should, by all rights, charge. But I kind of like the idea that you can just download something free and put something together. That's just my personal feeling. But
really, but then they've done all this work on it though.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I'm not knocking Sublime.
I think do it for free. You just have to close a dialogue
exactly, and that's kind of what I do, to be honest.
The open source community, everyone's kind of doing playing their own part, aren't they? And everyone's kind of giving back to each other.
I mean, the whole reason for me, like why we're doing the podcast, is to give something back, be part of that community. But
I actually think of it as a donation to them, really. Because I love the fact that the work they've done. It's not like Photoshop or Office or anything. You're paying like the big bucks for that. So I know I'm really just paying like probably one developer or a couple who are passionate in this project. That's why I do it, because for them, not for the fact that I'm actually getting the product. It's more keep up the good work, guys. Here's a donation.
Yeah.
The thing with Sublime is though, I use the free version and it does everything that I need it to do. I mean, what does it do?
It doesn't. It doesn't. That's the nice thing about them. They literally just say. Actually, there was one funny thing. One text editor on a Mac. I can't remember the name of it. But after the trial ended, 30 days, you could use it, but it only used the font Comic Sans.
Oh yeah.
How epically awesome is that? I mean, that's. But anyway, moving on from that. There's nothing you can't do with it. It's just the fact that you've just registered for it. And you're just donating. That's all I feel to it.
Well, I'm all for that as well. I can see it from both sides of the fence. It's good to support the people that have put their spent time to make things for you, and that are giving it out free of charge. I think that's good, and it's good to support those, definitely.
And also another thing with Sublime is there's a lot of plugins out there.
Oh, millions.
I mean, it's great. I mean, we'll have to put in the show notes like the package manager and everything you have to do and stuff. But it is there's so many, and because they're all written in Python, so it's quite easy to pick them up and just start building your own one if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, is Sublime everyone's current main choice at the moment?
Yeah, Sublime 3 at the moment.
Oh, are you actually using Sublime? Is there anything good in Sublime 3 that
I couldn't tell the difference, to be honest with you. Apart from it's got a bigger number.
Right, that's it. My one, and you're done. I like it. New release cycle.
Yeah, I was using, but before I was using Sublime, I was on Coda.
If you like that, that's like an all-in-one with like an FTP and stuff, hasn't it? And CSS.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Cool. I use Coda as well.
The reason I started using Coda is there was when I was working in New Zealand, my boss over there had a spare license for it, so he gave me the license because at the time I was using Dreamweaver. I've been using Dreamweaver for pretty much since I found out about it at university. Because the code editor on Dreamweaver is actually pretty...
So that is actually a program where you talk code editor, Dreamweaver and Frontpage. What are they? Now, they're kind of they're more web developer source editors, I find, like web developer editors, where they're specific for the web, similar to Coda.
Yeah.
But they are like, I mean, that was after the Notepad, that was my next one, Frontpage. Yeah,
absolutely. And I still stand by, I think that the code editor on Dreamweaver is really, really good. And I was using that as a code editor because I wasn't using the design environment. Because
you're using Design View.
It's crap. Yeah, if you draw a div on Dreamweaver, you get like 1,000 lines of code behind it.
Yeah, that intelligent building it up like Photoshop style, what you see is what you get type thing, doesn't work with code.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was using that just as an editor, and obviously it's a little bit overkill, like 700 megs worth of software just to write lines of text.
But you've been using the preview view, because there's a preview view, isn't there, as well? But I don't know whether...
I'm not sure, because I'd quite often run it in split design and code view, so you can sit there and write code and then watch it come to life.
That is quite cool. That is because I think Coda does that as well, doesn't it? Or am I mistaken?
I didn't notice. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, it does have
It does have like a live preview type thing.
It does, yeah.
But then with live reload and stuff,
That's
those
yes.
type of things, it does it on its own, and you can use any browser you like. You use Firefox or Chrome, or
No, apparently you can't use Firefox because there's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's only Safari and Chrome that you can do.
WebKit.
Yeah, because they're using Blink now on Chrome, aren't they?
Blink, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, I do. How about you, Mickey?
I have to use Dreamweaver because
use Dreamweaver.
a lot of our sites are using Dreamweaver templates.
Yeah, what is a Dreamweaver template? I've never quite understood that.
It's just basically, like when we used to make CodeIgniter sites and we'd have like a template, like a view file that everything fed out of, basically.
Oh, right, yeah, and you've got like placeholder bits.
Yeah. It's exactly like that. And
right.
But basically, say that one of the other developers on the project has changed the template, then when you go to make changes, you can check you've got the latest version of the template and then pull it down and all that kind of stuff.
Kind of like version controlled development. That's weird. And it's only in Dreamweaver, not actually when it goes out. When you push it out, is it static HTML or?
When you push it out, it goes out as static HTML. Yeah,
it's not Cold Fusion. You don't use that.
Oh. But no, I got to be honest. I hate Dreamweaver with passion. I really can't tolerate it.
I mean, it is great. I mean, I used Frontpage for a while when I was starting off, because it is nice actually sometimes to like drag something in to see what code is produced, even though the code can be quite ugly. Like especially with like the hover effects and stuff, and you just see them. It's quite funny. If you go into some sites, you're like, you know what, this looks a familiar Dreamweaver site. If you view the source, you'll see like like the hover functions and stuff they use.
Yeah,
like JavaScript. You're like, that's blatantly a Dreamweaver site.
Yeah.
One thing the design view was good for though was tables.
Yes, that's so good. Yeah, and actually sizing them up and everything.
Table and you can merge your cells and what have you.
Yeah, because actually having to work out all this weird, because tables can get, especially when back in the day we actually had to design with tables.
Absolutely,
that was a lifesaver. I mean, it worked really well then, and I think they are still trying. There's a couple of Adobe projects, Cooler, I saying, is one of them, where they're trying to make this. They're trying to make it so hard to do, but they're trying to make a WYSIWYG editor like the Photoshop of web development.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's going to happen, but they are trying their best with these like intelligent ways of building, markup from what you want from a simple GUI interface. But it is very hard to do, and that's why computers don't program themselves, and we're still doing it because AI and stuff is very hard to do.
Yeah. Did you ever used to do the slices on Photoshop?
Oh, they are great as well.
Yeah, and because when I got my first job back in like 2000, that was. I was a junior web developer, and it was a case of like the designer would send you over a PSD, you'd slice it up and export it, and then delete areas and put background colours on. And
I remember that. The old CSS days when everything was a background. Yeah. Oh man, that was great. But I mean, I suppose that moves on. So we've talked about text editors, which is simple Notepad and stuff. We talked about source editors, and we showed that there are differences between the two. We then need to talk about IDEs. Now, IDEs are the big daddy. IDEs, they're called Integrated Development Networks or Interactive Development Environments. And they are a software application that provides like comprehensive, so a lot of facilities for computer programming for software development. And they are aimed at software developers, only for software developers. You're not going to be writing a blog post in it. You're not going to be writing your next book in it. You're going to be using it for coding. They usually consist of a source code editor, which is what you're going to get, from like the functionality with Vim, Emacs, Sublime, or Notepad++. They will also provide stuff like build automation tools, such as Ant, in the case of like Eclipse and NetBeans. And build automation tools are tools that allow you to quickly build stuff. So say like we have like a build process. So whenever I want to push something out, I want to compress my assets. I want to compress my images. I want my code to be all clean. I want to do syntax highlighting checks, do syntax checks on it, style checks on it, and I maybe want to run it for a bunch of unit tests before it actually goes out. You can do that. you'll have a debugger in there normally, and it'll be a very good debugger in that it will allow you to maybe step through the program and stuff. And that happens in Java, where you can actually step through individual line by line and debug it. You do get that with Xdebug in PHP at the moment at a very simple level. But actually, just recently, just yesterday, version 5.6 of PHP will have its own GCD implementation, which is like a debugger for the GNU project, but they've made their own one, and that allows you to actually use breakpoints and do some really, really cool stuff in PHP. So in 5.6, that'll be very good. And tools like PHP Storm, NetBeans, they can all use this, and so you'll be able to debug programs like you do a Java program.
Cool. I'm just thinking, guys, because we just hit the hour mark, and I don't personally think we should split this into 2 episodes. I think it'd be a good idea to wrap up, but unless you guys think otherwise. But I think it'd be a good idea as well, just to kind of think, well, we're trying to aim the, people are just starting out. So I think it might be a good idea if you all agree. Perhaps we should just all go around really and just give our recommendations to anyone who's starting out, as to what editor to pick and what reasons and perhaps the benefits and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Does that sound good? So, Lou, do you want to kick off with any recommendations for what you think people should use? And
I can certainly see the benefits of using an IDE, but I don't think it's something that you need to launch into immediately because, in the short term, it's probably best to use like a raw sort of code editor like Sublime Text or Notepad++ or something like that, just so you are literally writing code and you haven't got all the distractions of all the prompts and things that come up and errors and all that stuff. So in terms of those, I've been using Sublime Text 2 now for about 1.5 years, and I will definitely be continuing to do so because it does everything that I want and it looks nice and it's nice and straightforward to use and easy to navigate. So Sublime Text 2 for me.
Nice. Fraser?
Yeah, I'm going to follow Lewis and say Sublime as well. I use a Mac and a PC. I use a PC at work and use a Mac at home when I'm doing my freelance stuff, and it's just nice to be able to use the same editor on the PC as it is on the Mac. My second choice would have been Coda, but that's solely for Mac. And because I have to use a PC, it's just, like I said, it's nice to have something that you can use on both. I spent a bit of time with NetBeans, which is an IDE, as Ed was just discussing. It was pretty fantastic, but I was running it on the machine that I had before my current one, it was running like a bit of a dog anyway, so that's partly the reason, I think. But again, with my issues with Dreamweaver, it was just a 600 or 700 meg program, which is completely unnecessary for editing files. It was a little bit slower because of all the stuff going on in the background when it's like checking all your files and basically scanning all your code so it can suggest all your functions in your classes and what have you. So I might give it another go a little bit further down the line, but at the moment, absolutely 100% Sublime.
Nice. We all know what Edman's going to say, but go on, say it.
I'm going to say Sublime too. Oh dear, yeah. Sublime with a couple of plugins. You've got the package control plugin, which is the thing that actually gives you more plugins. Stuff like I'll put these in the show notes, but like dot blocker, which is for commenting using Java doc style comments. Prefixer, which is great for CSS3 syntax changes. So like you say, you've got like your Moz border radius and your border radius, it will just add them automatically for you if you just type in border radius, which is very cool. Emmet is Emmet, which used to be called Zen coding, which is like a small DSL, which allows you to quickly build up HTML structures. Very cool. That's what Jeffrey Way shows on.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Very cool. And then JSLint and PHPLint, which are, I think we explained it in the, just to check syntax checks, static syntax checks on your actual code, just to see if it's right.
Nice.
With that syntax checking, how does it work? Does it do it with every keystroke?
So, it's tough because you can do it on save. That's what I normally do.
Right.
So
that's really annoying.
Because especially it's like I know it's wrong now. I'm trying to write the thing. So you can do it on save, and then PHP all it does is runs through it with the because PHP-L I think just has a lint file, and it will just run through it, just then highlight what bit's wrong.
Okay, cool.
How about you, Mickey? What were you going to choose?
I'm going to say Sublime.
We've got a
Sublime, we love this podcast.
4-0 win for Sublime too.
But I would say just a couple of things to be aware of. If you do start working for a company and they're using Dreamweaver, just be aware that things, certainly like the version of Dreamweaver we've got, I get like error hints because I'm using PHP 5.3 stuff.
Do they not update it then? Don't they give you any updated syntax? Because surely that wouldn't be too hard.
I looked on the Adobe website, see if you could get it. But there's just nothing. So
that's crazy.
That's my first, thing to be aware of. And I was going to say, yeah, Sublime. I mean, Ed, you showed me Sublime, and a couple of things I say about it. Really, and this is getting kind of like, do as I say and not as I do. But if you're starting out, you really want to be looking at creating nice, clean code. And I think with Sublime, it's easy to do that because you've just got your screen and then it's the text. And the other thing I would say is
raw. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah, it is really raw. Yeah, until like you say, if you want to start adding plugins, you can do. But I never do. I just have Sublime. But the other thing I would say is, it sounds cliche, but as a web developer, your hands and your eyes are your tools, and if they get damaged, then you can't do your job as well. So one of the things that Ed Mann first said to me was, "Why are you staring at Dreamweaver with like font size 10? Sat like a meter away from the screen."
Couldn't see the thing.
And I hadn't even thought about it until he mentioned it to me. But it is a really good point that look after your eyes. And for me, looking at a black screen with white text, okay, I know you can change it, but is a lot better than staring at a white screen with black text. And yeah, just get your font size bigger.
Font size and a font as well. Pick a nice font that you like.
Yeah. And just make sure you're comfortable when you're working, because you're going to be doing this like 7-8 hours a day. If you're lucky, you might be.
Your life will be in a text editor pretty much.
Yeah, so look after your eyes and look after your hands and wrists, because RSI is not fun, and I'm sure everyone's experienced a little bit of it at some point. So Sublime Text for me, hands down. But yeah, like I say, I'm quite interested in NetBeans at the moment, but I'm not clued up enough to discuss it. But I guess we'll have a chat after we finish the podcast to see whether we think it's a good idea to perhaps do another podcast on IDEs specifically, because there's a lot of stuff we haven't discussed. So we'll have a chat about that afterwards. But for now, I think we should probably wrap it up. But usual kind of things to finish off with is we all do have email addresses now, right?
We do indeed, yeah.
Which obviously I can't remember off the top of my head.
So we have each of our names. So we have Ed, we have Fraser, we have Lewis, and we have Michael, and they're all at 3devsinthemaybe.com. We also have, if you have any interest, want to talk to me, have any problems, we have contact at 3devsinthemaybe.com. And we also have our Twitter handle, which is 3devsinthemaybe.com, but with the numeral 3. And all our Twitter handles are available on the website at 3devsinthemaybe.com.
Exactly, and we'll put all this in the show notes. But we really, really, really would like some feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah, whether it's on iTunes or just even a text, iTunes or Twitter or email, just anything.
Yeah, and any questions that anyone has, even if it's like an anonymous question you don't want repeated on a podcast, just fire them at us, and one of us will try and answer it. So and please spread the word to any friends or anyone who are looking to get into web development.
Shameless plug over. I think that sounded pretty good.
Thanks for everyone that's actually made the effort to download and listen.
That really is. If we help one person at one time just to get into web development, that's really what we're trying to do. It's just we love it, and we think a lot of other people enjoy it. That's why we do it.
I'd be more than happy if anyone wanted to contact me through Twitter or whatever to ask anything, and feel free. We're all here. We're all online. We're just making websites the same as you guys are. So get in touch.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll hopefully be back on next week. Cheers.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Hey.